would now like to invite our speakers for the inaugural session. Mr. Sanjeev Sharma, Deputy General Manager, Regional Sales Display Business, Samsung India. Do we have Mr. Sharma around? Yes, please, on the stage, sir. Mr. Anirudh Gupta, CEO, DCM Group of Schools. Okay, he's on his way. Mr. Abhishek Jani, CEO, Fair Trade India Project of the Center for Social Markets. Good morning, sir. Dr. Amrita Vohra, Director Education, GEMS India and Executive Principal, GEMS International School, Gurgaon. Ms. Indu Sharma, Principal, Bhupendra International Public School, Patiala. I think in another 1 minute we can start with this session because we just have one more speaker coming up, so we can start off and he can join us in between because already we are running ahead of time. So let me just start with this session, in fact, redefining the leadership in new era, building a future-ready paradigm. As we all understand, education, in fact, has been a very critical sector in the last 2 years, ever since the pandemic hit us. And there have been a lot of changes and a lot of new technology that is being used in education, especially in the primary education sector, the sector we are representing today. So in fact, with these key speakers, we will actually see them shedding a lot of light on what the future-ready learning programs would be. So we have with us Mr. Sanjeev Sharma. A huge round of applause for all our speakers today, please. Mr. Sanjeev Sharma, Deputy General Manager, Regional Sales Display Business, Samsung India. Mr. Anirudh Gupta, CEO, DCM Group of Schools. Mr. Abhishek Jani, CEO, Fair Trade India Project of the Center for Social Markets. Dr. Amrita Vohra, Director Education, GEMS India and Executive Principal, GEMS International School, Gurgaon. Ms. Indu Sharma, Principal, Bhupendra International Public School, Patiala. So I would now like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Sharma, Deputy General Manager, Regional Sales Display Business, Samsung India, on the podium.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sanjeev, and I lead the regional team for Samsung India. I'm glad to be here amongst you all for the World Education Summit. This has been an event where it has been observed that it gives a common platform wherein all the education leaders from across the world of schools, which is primary, higher education, come together and share information or knowledge. This event has also been instrumental in throwing or sharing the ICT initiatives which can help in the education industry. I believe there has been education leaders here today from all segments, maybe government, private sector, technical professionals, who will be sharing knowledge amongst themselves to further enhance the quality and scope of digital education in the education arena. So I'll be discussing that Samsung as a brand, what are the new trends, the innovations which we provide to the audience at large in the education sector in enhancing the experience. Samsung has been the global company in India which is enriching the lives of people by providing innovative products, innovative solutions in the space of mobile technology, networking, appliances, and so on and so forth. Education sector has been the pillar of the growth of any society for that matter. Samsung as a brand has been providing a lot of solutions for the education sector. We have our stall here, and our technical team is also here to take you through the various solutions which we have. Digitalization in education sector is currently, it is a must. It is no longer a choice. Before pandemic, it was observed that yes, there has been this effort in the education sector, but it was largely in the urban areas or the advanced areas. But currently, post-pandemic, it has been observed that government across the country or across the world are taking initiatives, are setting up extra budgets to implement digital initiatives in the education sector. So what we foresee is that it is a must. Digital initiatives is a must. So Samsung as a brand has got a lot of products when it comes to enhancing the digital experience in the education sector. One is our flagship product, which is Flip, which is there in the display outside. So we provide solutions for both indoor as well as outdoor applications. When it is indoor, maybe in schools, auditoriums, classrooms, so we have various solutions like your signage displays through which information dissemination can be done. We have Flips Interactive. It provides a seamless touch experience, the best interactive which is available currently in this domain in the industry. We have outdoor products like LEDs, etc., which my colleague Saurabh will be discussing with you when he'll be presenting the products and the solutions which we can offer. So please go to our stall. Right? We have displayed all the products and solution. Have a look at it, understand it. If there is any query, please come back to us. We'll be able to provide you some innovative solutions. There are many solutions which we have provided to most of the higher education segments. Even recently, I was in IMA, Dehradun. They were discussing that how is that by means of display, how is that we can give some solution wherein the cadets can do proper saluting. So even artificial intelligence is something which we are embedding in the display segment and working out some solutions. So there are a lot of solutions which can be worked out. So if you have anything in mind that, yes, this is the solution which we need or this is the application which we need, please tell us. We will be working out some solutions towards that. And Samsung is one company who has got the R&D facility out here in India. So we service from India, we service to the entire world. So our innovation team, they work a lot of solutions out here, and then it is shared to the other parts of the world. So with that, I'll just thank you for being here, and please enjoy the event. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma. This was very insightful indeed, and all of us know how important mobile phones and our tablets and innovative such communication tools have been in the last 2 years for the education sector. In fact, we saw almost everyone, irrespective of their social sector and economic sector, buying mobile phones because it was very, very important. And I believe Samsung has been very, very instrumental in providing affordable mobile solutions to people across India. I would now invite Mr. Anirudh Gupta, CEO, DCM Group of Schools, on stage to share his words here. Oh, he's not here. Mr. Abhishek Jani, CEO, Fair Trade India Project of the Center for Social Markets. Sir, please.
Yeah, I'd like to start by thanking ELETS for organizing this event and having us all here, the first physical event after the pandemic. It's great to see people in person. I would also like to thank all the distinguished guests who are here for attending this. The topic that we've been asked to talk about is how we can redefine education. Now, there are eminent panelists here, so I'm not going to stray into the domain, which I know that they will cover better. But I would like to reflect a little bit on some of the specific areas that our work relates to. If we were to reflect on the events of the last few years, we've seen that it's been a catalyst. It's been a catalyst for realization for all of us about the need for change and about how all of us are interconnected. What happens in Brazil, what happens in South Africa, affects all of us here. And we realized that with all of these changes that the pandemic has brought about, there has been an acceleration in other global issues like climate change, like growing income inequality, which is increasingly something that is in our face. And it's a moment of reflection to realize how all of us are getting affected by these global challenges. So it is in this context that I want to talk about specific areas related to the leadership qualities and leadership building for the future. If we were to look at the aspects and the dimensions which are affecting already and will definitely affect society and life in the future, we're seeing global frameworks like the Sustainable Development Goals becoming increasingly prominent. Here we've been already hearing, and we heard Dr. Sahasrabudhe talk about the National Education Program. And all of them, in the specific context of education, are pushing us into a more holistic framework for educating the citizens and leaders for tomorrow. So in this context, I want to specifically talk about aspects of leadership which I call the 3 C's. First and foremost, when we talk about the leadership for the future, I feel we increasingly need conscious leaders. Leaders who are aware of the impact that they are creating and their organizations are creating or are going to create in the world. This is both social, environmental, and they need to be guided by a strong ethical compass in taking the decisions as they do as leaders, right? And something, again, we see constant reference to in the NEP, the need for ethical, holistic education. What we're also seeing is a need for compassionate leadership, whether it's the last couple of years where we've seen within the organizations, but also going beyond to the more vulnerable communities in the society. I think we've all been affected. In some ways, we've been grateful to some of the vulnerable community members, be it the farmers, be it the Kirana stores, who we've been dependent on, right, for our everyday living. And with that has come a realization, increasingly so, about the need for being compassionate with the communities around us. Finally, what we are also seeing is a realization that we need to be collaborative. These global challenges cannot be solved just by the government, just by the not-for-profit sector or the private sector. We're seeing, whether it's in the reference to the SDG Goal 17, which talks about increasing collaboration across industries and sectors, or again, mentioned in the NEP, the need for collaborative leadership is critical. We need to break down the silos and we need to build all of that together. And that's how we will then address these global challenges, actually. So to this end, I would like to draw attention to some of the work that we do at Fairtrade. We work in something called sustainability education. The idea is that we supplement and add on to the existing frameworks with interactive activities, campaigning, lesson plans, a whole range of support areas. We have our own digital platform, which enables teachers as well as students to engage in this world of sustainability with compassion, with a conscience, as well as with the collaborative spirit. So it is with that I would say, the need of the hour is that all of us come together. I will stop by saying that we need to increasingly think about sustainability. It is becoming a part of the mainstream in the private sector. It's becoming a part of the mainstream with the government. Increasingly, regulations are coming into it, and we're hoping that in building the leaders for tomorrow, increasingly, education institutions will be also incorporating this as not an added extracurricular, but as a part of their core teaching. So thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from the other panelists.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abhishek Jani, and that was really nice listening to your words. I would like to invite Dr. Amrita Vohra, Director Education, GEMS India, and Executive Principal, GEMS International School, Gurgaon now. Please, a round of applause for all the speakers around.
I hope I'm audible. Thank you. First of all, thank you to ELETS for opportunities of this sort, and I think this is the 11th or the 12th time when we are all finally meeting each other in person in a conference and calling it the very first one. So with that note, let's begin the discussion. I honestly, with the 5 people who were supposed to be on this panel, I expected this to be more like a panel discussion, but here we are. So, and the topic, interestingly, is what needs to change about leadership. Honestly, I feel nothing. Being a leader has always been a challenging job, and it's never been about leading people or being the boss around. It's always been about serving people. It's always been about collaborating, being conscious, ethical, and compassionate, as very correctly pointed out. It's also always been about opening doors where none seem to exist. It's also being equanimous, being calm and thoughtful in times of change, and then forging ahead with the right kind of solutions where the entire team really believes in it. Now, how does this belief really happen? Is because each one in the team feels empowered, right from the person, if I'm talking in terms of a school, which most of us from here are, the person who's welcoming people at the gate at the school, the child in the school, the youngest and the oldest, each teacher in the school, each parent who's part of the school community, the person who's doing the accounting, the person who's welcoming people at the reception, the SLT or the senior leadership team members of the school, every single person is equally accountable, is equally important. And if every single one of them believes in a shared theory, a shared set of tools, and a shared vision for the organization, we achieve whatever we set out to achieve. We'll be able to do. And the minute one walks into a school, the school really is all about a culture. And that culture of change is what, culture of learning, culture of change, culture of empowering each other, culture of compassion and love for each other is what we essentially are here to create in a school. We've all seen phenomenal changes, and we've all lived up to it during this pandemic, and the uncertainty continues. We are still uncertain. This is to be worn, when it's to be put out, and are we supposed to be in-person conferences like this or not, or digital is okay, or hybrid is okay, etc. And we're dealing with all kinds of challenges, from fee to digitizing, to blended, to hybrid, to whatnot. But what's critical is we've all grown in the process. We've all learned a lot in the process. And we've seen each one learning around us. The thing is, H.G. Wells long back wrote that there is no intelligence where there is no change and no need for change. So change is not just a constant for us as humans to really flourish, for any kind of human flourishing. Change is actually the catalyst that is required. We need it more than change needing us. So if we need change, we really need to embrace it. And we need to remember that today, whatever we are really trying to so-called train our children or prepare our children for, well, who are we in the first place? Because each generation is smarter than the previous one. And our children are going to be ready for a universe, for a world, maybe 10 years from now. It is consistently changing, and the speed has become phenomenally different now. More than 80% of the jobs that we have today will not exist 10 years from now. We don't know what we are preparing them for. What we can really prepare them, though, for. So in terms of information, is there really a point? It's there at the click of a button. And very soon, it's not even going to be a click, it's going to be a chip in the head. So then, what is it that we are doing in schools? What is it that really our job then is as educators, as we like to call ourselves? I think the ability to learn how to learn is very critical, Metacognition is what we really need to be able to do in our schools today. The other very, very critical thing is, he talked about sustainability, which is again critical. For its very survival, let's not talk goodness and other things, but for very survival, for sheer survival, we now need a radically, and I'm saying radically, a radically compassionate generation of people. We need peace. We need very simple pro-social behavior in children. Our children are growing up in an age of instant gratification. They're growing up, unfortunately, also in an age of a whole lot of, not just by the pandemic, but in general also, a whole lot of social isolation. We are paradoxically over-connected on this planet now, and absolutely ill-connected. We don't know who's the next door neighbor anymore. We probably have not seen their face also. And that's the kind of environment that our children are growing up in. So if it is so, if it is the reality, very often you find children struggling with very, very simple skills like making friends, like just being comfortable in the midst of a lot of people around and so on. What's become critical today is to mainstream social emotional learning and sustainability learning. So we're already more than 20 years into the 21st century. So the 4 C's, everybody, all of us have like a ratta we pill out to everyone. We've been trying to do that. The 4 C's, everyone knows those. I'm adding character as the 5th C, character which is really compassionate, and as I said earlier, really radically compassionate, as we today need to be. We need to be able to deconstruct the whole lot of stereotypes that are all around us. We need to be able to have the critical inquiry to be able to sieve through the sea of misinformation and disinformation that we live in. It's echo chambers that we are pushed to living in. So from here, how does a child really figure out what's really is going on and what's being fed? And the next very, very critical thing is global citizenship, a 5th C and a 6th C. So character and global citizenship. Citizenship, which is not just for the local, the here and now, and understanding not just me, but understanding every kind of other in the social structure, in the national, in the global structure, and also understanding the need for sustainable development, living it as an experience, as only experience really is learning. Rest is all just information. And I think our job as leaders is to just make this happen. It's only possible. Specifically in a school, a very strong focus as leaders is required on teacher education. No school is better than its teachers. It's eventually what the teachers do that matters. And teachers need to be empowered. Teachers need to really feel that somebody has my back. You know, I can go out there and I can do this. Sometimes I'll be able to do it, I'll win, sometimes I'll learn. It's all right to experiment. It's all right to try out. I can try out new things, and my leadership team is modeling it for me. I am empowered. I am sharing new learning with my colleagues. I am also creating new learning alongside my colleagues. I am researching, I am thinking critically, and I am ensuring that my children also are. The teacher needs to be nurtured as much as every single child in the school is. Only then a school feels genuinely nurtured. And I think these are some of the things that I'll leave with you. Thank you. Looking forward to further interaction.
Thank you, Dr. Vora. We can have another round of applause here. Because बहुत पहले मुझे बताया गया था कि ताली बजाने से अपनी एक्सरसाइज भी होती है. I think we have a lot of pressure points on our hands जिनसे बहुत अच्छी health benefits भी मिलती हैं. I would now like to invite Ms. Indu Sharma, Principal Bhupendra International Public School, Patiala. Ma'am.
Good morning. Feeling truly blessed and honored to be in August gathering amongst the leaders and total resonance with my previous panelist. Absolutely. Transformation in leadership, if it comes to technology, most of us have learned a lot of things, great deal of things. But when it comes to leadership, if genuine leaders, if you look at them, my teachers, my leaders in school or colleges were way ahead if we delete technology. Because the most important thing for the leader to know is, as Dr. Amrita rightly mentioned, to empower every member of the team. Every member of the team, right from the guard to the head. And the principal need to revisit her strategies. I mean, the good leaders have always have open door policy. They would not like to sit in ivory towers. The good principals, the good leaders have been always accessible. Otherwise, there would not be much difference in the bureaucrats and the leaders. Educational leaders have to be accessible. Now, there are four kinds of leaders: tacit leaders, who say, I know it all, I don't need to change. So they are dangerous for the society. Then there are aware leaders. They try different kind of formulas, different kind of strategies, and if you ask them, why have you done that? I don't know, I just like the idea. There are other leaders who are strategist leaders. They're the ones who plan, who strategize, who implement, and who question their own strategy. And other leaders are leaders, reflective leaders. Reflective leaders allow even their team, not only the HODs, academic coordinators, they allow every member of the team, including children, to help decide the strategy. They do not feel that they have to eat a humble pie in case a child or a teacher or a primary teacher or a novice in the profession says, no, this is a great idea, but could I suggest something better? Because the young teachers, they come with a lot of information, a lot of knowledge around at least technology, which helped us to survive in past 1.5 years' time. Prior to that, we all were antagonists when it came to technology, especially children using mobile was big no for me. But we realized, we learned, we relearned, and we understood that we have to do away with many archive practices if we want our children to be future ready. But at the same time, one very, very important thing which started maybe from the ancient India, from Gurukul, that would stay forever. What is compassion, virtue, virtuous learning, sanskar? Whatever be the percentage of children, 99% entering IIT, entering AIMS, all kind of prestigious institutions, but if they are not value-driven, if they are not emotionally strong, people who are not emotionally strong, they're not even value-driven. So we need to equip our children with emotional quotient. We need to make them understand that they have a solution for every problem. And that should start right from early childhood, from pre-primary classes. It's not that they grow up and this become more mature. The foundation years are very, very important. And the leaders, if they start looking at only class 10th and 12th results, then the children are going to have hard time. They may attain great results, but there could be a lot of problems around health. CBSE talked about zero anger zone, but the Gurukuls always were happy places. Great schools even now are like Gurukuls, happy places, where every child is like a son or a daughter to the principal or to the teachers. Where principal, where the leaders and the teachers are leaders in every class, the teacher in every class is a leader, and then children in each child in the class is a leader, where everybody understands it's okay to fail. There's nothing wrong, but it's not okay to not to try. Where children understand that even the prime minister, the principal, the parents make mistakes. When we leaders try to paint ourselves extremely virtuous, perfect people, that is the time we cause a lot of harm. If leaders in the classroom, that is educators in the classroom and the principals sometimes share that even we failed at many times in our lives, I think that'll make children's life far, far easier. Now at home, it is not an easy life for a child because of disintegration of joint family. This child ends up with n number of TV channels or gets to see both mom and dad busy with their mobiles, and he also ends up with this only solo company, that is digital company. So how does he develop his emotional quotient? Though, of course, because of these unprecedented times, we had to totally rely on technology. Thank God. The children are back in the campus and we have vibrant campus. God has given us very important responsibility. Children are the most beautiful gift to the world, and how we groom them is our gift to the world. And the world has realized, the parents have realized the importance of educators. Sustainable development goals you talked about. We need to create awareness about those right from kindergarten years. If the children value paper, if the children understand their responsibility at home, that they have to switch off the light after using the toilet or if they're leaving their bedroom. So small things could be sounding inconsequential, but these things would matter if we want to see Arctic not melting. We've never seen the kind of temperature it was there, 30 degrees these days, which is abnormality, which is an abnormal temperature, which is an alarming situation. I think we would be going back to Dr. Maria Montessori's system, though the visionary gave the system to the world almost 115 years back. Frederick Froebel was the one who started with kindergarten school. But somehow the entire focus of schools generally is around secondary and senior secondary classes. So if we want a transformation in the society, we have to remember that we have to work very hard on foundation years, and that hard work would be patience. The hard work would be love. Because the children would be extremely slow considering their age. But if the leaders and the educators in the classroom are immensely patient, we would see happy children. And when we see happy children, great learning happens, great transformation happens. Otherwise, we all have chemical factory inside us. The children are stressed out so badly, right? In the first standard, children are scared to share their evaluation report with the mother. You can remove the word test, you can remove the word examination till class 5th. But still at home, that pressure happens that you have got a test, you've got evaluation, you understand evaluation is examination. So the kind of cortisols that are secreted by body that are so damaging. So if leaders, present leader, we all decide that zero anger zone means zero anger zone, happy classrooms, children feel that it's absolutely fine sometimes to go wrong. And if they know that their mistakes are same mistakes which the principal made, which their dad and mom made when they were children, then we would have less number of patients, child patients in the hospitals. If you go through the data, there's huge data where children are suffering from malignant health issues. And nobody realizes the stress to children, the BP shoots up. There's an increase in perspiration, there's an increase in palpitation, there's an increase in the contraction in spleen, decrease in saliva. So children go through such tough time in the name of some kind of evaluation. So I don't know how much we can counsel the parents, though it's part of our responsibility, part of our duty, part of our duty to transform the society. Because whatever evils we come across in the society, I would say largely we are to be blamed. If we could address a lot of things in the schools, if we give strong foundation, because this is the most important. School time is the habit formation period, especially 1 to 6. The age group, when they're like a sponge, they'll absorb everything good or bad. Only in the name of flashy, showy environment, ambience, all kind of materials available in the market, which are put across to the children. And at home, parents, to overcome their guilt, they give them instant gratification, they enjoy. So instead of that, we all need to give them patient hearing. We need to be audience to children if we want them to be thinkers. Because thinkers will take time to think. The little brains, they're very sharp, they're fertile brains. But when this amygdala shuts down, amygdala is like a sensor to the brain. When they're stressed out, it flips and thinking brain stops. The frontal cortex stops. It simply shuts down. So I know if you've been leaders for all these years, I'm sure you all ensure that children in the campus are happy children. And our biggest increments and perks are when we see children smiling, when we see children secure in the campus, when we see healthy children, emotionally healthy children. If they're emotionally healthy, they'll definitely be physically healthy. So paradigm shift, if I talk about, the leaders have to ensure happy, vibrant environment where every child feels it's my school, and the vision should be shared. We must share the vision even with the guard, with the parents, not only with teachers and educators. And definitely, then we'll be, I would say, close to gurus. Right? We've been called teachers, we've been called all kind of names during pandemic times because of real, genuine issues, financial issues with the parents, and some created issues. So somewhere there's a decline in the image of teacher, and very few boys and girls, young men and women want to opt for this profession. It's not lucrative, but this profession has been the noblest. So it all depends on us where we want to drive the society and where we want to drive our own image as leaders or as educators or teachers or gurus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. In fact, this was very, very insightful for all of us, because we now understand the importance of valuable and changing education format. And we understand here education is no longer just ratification of stuff, and there's a lot more to do with it. And that's how we can actually groom future leaders. I would, in fact, thank all our speakers, Mr. Sanjeev Sharma, Mr. Abhishek Jani, Dr. Amrita Vora, and Ms. Indu Sharma. And I would like to invite Mr. Sunil Kumar, one of our senior colleagues and senior manager, ELITS Technomedia, to present our speakers with a token of gratitude for the session. That's Mr. Sunil Kumar. Can we have a token for Mr. Sanjeev Sharma? Mr. Sanjeev Sharma, Deputy General Manager, Regional Sales, Display Business, Samsung India. A huge round of applause, please. Thank you so much. For Mr. Abhishek Jani, CEO, Fairtrade India, project of the Center for Social Markets. Mr. Abhishek Jani. Dr. Amrita Vora, Director Education, GEMS India, and Executive Principal, GEMS International School, Gurgaon. A token for her, please. Ms. Indu Sharma, Principal, Bhupendra International Public School, Patiala. We would like all our panelists to come together for a group photograph, please. With your tokens, please. With your tokens, please. Right in the front. Right in the front. I think.